This is the train derailment. Right at the end of the driveway. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. And all I could see was just flames and smoke. And it was dark out, so you could really see them. And I panicked.
Melanie Losol couldn't believe her eyes. A CP freight train carrying crude oil derailed and exploded just steps from her house, next to the rail line near Guernsey, southeast of Saskatoon. 33 tanker cars, Alberta crude destined for the U.S., burned and spilled 1.5 million liters. Then less than 2 months later,
oh my God,
9 kilometers away on the same track.
And I was just like, oh my God, not again. You know, this is just too much. And my grandkids we promised them it wouldn't be again, but it was so close. It was again.
This time, the train exploded, spilling 1.6 million liters of oil. The town was evacuated. Luckily, no one was hurt.
I mean, we've lived close to the tracks for years, and it's never, but once it happens twice in a row, it's kind of scary.
It's something that you always dread because you don't know what's going on behind you. You fear for everybody else's safety as well as your own.
Craig Brown knows how dangerous transporting crude oil can be. He drove trains for CP Rail for 35 years across Western Canada.
Well, I've had several derailments throughout my career. Most of them, thank God, have been all at lower speeds. I've only had one at about 45 miles an hour. Everything is at stake. A train carrying special dangerous commodities could very easily, wipe out a small little town. Look at Lac-Mégantic as a prime example.
Oh mon Dieu! Oh mon Dieu! Oh my God! Oh my God!
In Lac-Mégantic, 47 people were killed after a crude oil train derailed in the heart of the town. Railways and government vowed never again. But since then, 7 more crude oil trains have derailed, resulting in major disasters. Those 2 in Saskatchewan, just 9 kilometers apart, but also 2015 in northern Ontario. A CN oil train derailed near Gogama, spilling 1.7 million liters. A month later, another train exploded nearby, along the same CN rail line. And then last year, in Manitoba along CN's main line there, a major spill involving a train of 108 tanker cars. Then northwestern Ontario, another 2 derailments along the same CN line, 11 kilometers apart, including this one just steps from the town of Emo. 7 derailments. All 7, according to crash investigators, were caused by broken tracks. And those tracks are seeing heavy traffic.
The rail line's been getting busier and busier.
Local politician Jack Gibney worries that the increase in the number of oil trains passing through is taking a toll on the tracks.
Trains a mile long, wow, it's just unreal how busy it is.
In Saskatchewan, the CP line where those 2 trains recently exploded, it has seen shipments of oil jump 7-fold over the last few years.
You can't expect to put that much traffic over a rail line and not do the proper upkeep to keep it safe.
The track here has been inspected 5 times since 2016. CBC News obtained government inspection reports, and they reveal hundreds of problems, 131 non-compliances, 215 concerns. From defective rail ties, those wooden planks underneath the rails, either missing or rotting, to broken or defective metal. Transport Canada sent CP Rail several letters asking them to fix the problems. CP says they made the repairs. Yet, this winter there were those 2 crashes. CP is now back doing major work in Guernsey, replacing the rails. The company says it spends hundreds of millions on annual maintenance, and that the track here is and was properly maintained. But we showed those inspection reports to a top rail safety expert.
I don't think it was a surprise that either a derailment occurred.
Ian Nash spent years at the Transportation Safety Board, a watchdog agency, as director of rail crash investigations.
Help us understand, I mean, from those inspection reports, what's your impression of the state of that track?
It looks pretty bad from end to end, 110 miles or whatever it is, so it's like about 200 kilometers. Really bad shape, I'd say.
Naish says it's the government's regulator, Transport Canada, that is supposed to watch over rail companies to protect Canadians. But in Saskatchewan, he says, they dropped the ball.
The guys in the field, Transport Canada inspectors, knew there were problems, they flagged the problems, but they didn't take it to the next step. And they didn't take any action to say, okay, guys, you got to stop operating on this line until you fix things. They had all the information to act earlier and they didn't do it for whatever reason.
This spring, the Transportation Safety Board issued a warning. They say despite those 7 recent derailments, Transport Canada has yet to strengthen track safety rules for trains that carry crude oil.
Derailments happening because Transport Canada isn't doing its job. And they still haven't.
Bruce Campbell is a professor of environmental studies at York University and wrote a book on the Lac-Mégantic disaster.
The primary obligation of the regulator is the obligation to protect the public, and it's not doing that, in my view.
Transport Canada says it has a robust track oversight program, but this spring it ordered the railways to come up with tougher standards. Transport Canada acknowledging track issues remain an all too common cause of main track derailments.
What's at stake is the safety of the public. It's people's lives. Since Lac-Mégantic, when we thought this was the kind of the worst of the worst, and that afterwards they were going to do all that was necessary to prevent another disaster, and clearly that hasn't happened. I'm concerned that the lessons of Lac-Mégantic don't seem to be taken into account. These have all been in fairly small communities or near small communities, all of these derailments and the fires. What happens if the next time it's in a large community like Toronto or Montreal or Vancouver or Winnipeg?